Have you ever felt like a story was living inside you that wasn't your own? Like your memories, your feelings about a parent were somehow programmed? This is a reality for many who've experienced parental alienation. It's when a child's mind is filled with a narrative that paints one parent in a negative light, a story that isn't truly theirs but becomes their emotional truth. This programming can shape how they see that parent, themselves, and family relationships for years, often lasting deep into adulthood. The journey to healing is about recognizing these inherited stories, daring to question them, and finally, rebuilding a personal identity based on your own emotional truth. So how does this alienation programming even work? It's not a single event. It's a slow, steady drip of negative stories about one parent, repeated over and over again. These stories are often reinforced with powerful emotions, fear, guilt, and a deep-seated need for loyalty to the other parent. For a child, aligning with these beliefs isn't a choice. It feels like a survival strategy. It is emotionally necessary for feeling safe and maintaining a sense of belonging with the parent they live with. Over time, this narrative becomes a powerful filter. It colors every memory, every interaction, and every emotion. Old happy memories might get rewritten as manipulative or fake. New interactions are interpreted through this negative lens, confirming the story they've been taught. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, solidifying a black and white view of the family where one parent is all good and the other is all bad. For many adult children of alienation, the story they've carried for so long eventually starts to show cracks. This often happens during major life transitions. Maybe you start therapy for anxiety or depression and begin to explore your family dynamics. Perhaps you experience a personal loss, which makes you reflect on the fragility of relationships. A huge catalyst for many is becoming a parent themselves. When you hold your own child, you start to see the parent-child bond from a completely new perspective. You might look at your child's unconditional love and think, how could any parent just walk away? Or you might see your co-parenting relationship and realize how complex it is, making the simple good versus evil story you were taught feel incomplete. These moments create contradictions. The old narrative doesn't quite fit the new reality, and this causes a deep emotional discomfort. Questioning the story can feel like a massive betrayal. It can bring up immense guilt, as if you're being disloyal to the parent who raised you. But it's so important to know that this discomfort, this internal conflict, is a critical first step. It's the beginning of waking up from the program story and starting the journey back to your own truth. The next step is about learning to think for yourself again. Breaking free from alienation requires the difficult work of separating facts from the conditioned beliefs you've held for so long. It's like being a detective in your own life. You start to ask questions. Was that memory my own, or was it shaped by what I was told about it? Is this anger I feel towards my parent genuinely mine, or is it an emotion I inherited? This process is about emotional forensics. You learn to identify which feelings were implanted and which ones spring from your own, direct experience. A huge breakthrough happens when you begin to accept complexity. Life isn't a movie with a hero and a villain. Your parents are not all good or all bad. They are complex human beings with their own strengths, flaws, and histories. Allowing for this nuance, this gray area, helps dismantle the rigid black and white thinking that alienation thrives on. It doesn't mean you excuse hurtful behavior, but it does allow for a more balanced, realistic, and ultimately more truthful understanding of your family and your past. As you start to dismantle the old story, a lot of emotions will come to the surface. Healing isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's deeply emotional. You'll likely need to grieve. Grieve the lost time, the lost relationship with a parent, and the loss of a childhood that was built on a distorted truth. Anger is a common and very valid emotion. You might feel anger towards the alienating parent for what they did, anger at the alienated parent for not fighting harder, or even anger at the systems, like courts or therapists, that may have failed to see what was happening. You might even feel anger at yourself for believing the story for so long. Alongside anger, shame often appears. The shame of being duped, or the shame of having rejected a parent. It's crucial to consciously release this shame. It wasn't your fault. As a child, you did what you had to do to survive emotionally. Using tools like journaling can be incredibly powerful. Writing down your thoughts and feelings without judgment helps you process them instead of suppressing them. Trauma-informed therapy can also provide a safe space to navigate these intense emotions with a guide who understands the unique complexities of parental alienation. The goal is to feel these emotions fully, understand where they come from, and then let them move through you, rather than letting them continue to control your life. One of the most profound impacts of parental alienation is on your identity. When you're taught to reject a parent, you often learn to reject the parts of yourself that remind you of them. Maybe you were told your father was lazy, so you became a relentless overachiever. Maybe you were told your mother was overly emotional, so you learned to suppress your own feelings. Recovery involves reclaiming those disowned parts of yourself. It's about looking in the mirror and accepting your features, your personality traits, your talents, even if they are linked to the parent you were taught to hate. It's about realizing that these traits are not bad. They are simply a part of who you are. Developing self-compassion is key. You have to learn to be kind to yourself for the journey you've been on. Building a sense of personal agency is also vital. This means recognizing that you are the author of your own life now. Your identity is no longer defined by the imposed narratives of your childhood. It is based on your lived experiences, your values, your choices, and your truth. This is how you build a stable, authentic sense of self, free from the programming of the past. As you heal, the question of reconnection will naturally arise. What do you do about the alienated parent? It's essential to understand that reconnecting is a personal decision, not a requirement for healing. Your healing is for you, first and foremost. Some people choose to have limited or even no contact, and that is a perfectly valid choice if it's what you need for your emotional safety. Others may choose to slowly rebuild a relationship. If you do, it has to be done with strong boundaries and realistic expectations. The past can't be erased. The relationship won't magically become what it might have been. It will be something new, built on the foundation of the adults you are today. If you choose to reconnect, having support from a therapist or a support group can be incredibly helpful to navigate the complexities and potential triggers. The most important thing is that the choice is yours, and it is made from a place of empowerment and self-respect, not guilt or pressure from others. Your emotional safety must always be the top priority. Healing from something as complex as parental alienation is incredibly difficult to do alone. Finding the right support and environment is crucial. Look for trauma-informed therapy, where the therapist understands that alienation is a form of emotional abuse and psychological trauma. Simply being validated, having someone believe your experience and name it, can be profoundly healing. Education is also empowering. Reading books, listening to podcasts, and learning about the dynamics of parental alienation can help you make sense of your experience and feel less alone. Supportive communities, whether online forums or in-person groups, connect you with others who just get it. They understand the confusion, the guilt, the anger, and the grief without you having to explain it all. These safe spaces are vital because they provide understanding without pressure. A healthy healing environment will respect your individual pacing and will never push you to forgive or reconcile before you are ready. It's a space that honors your journey and empowers you to find your own path forward. Finally, one of the most powerful outcomes of this healing journey is the ability to break the cycle. When you become aware of the patterns of alienation, the black and white thinking, the loyalty binds, the use of a child as an emotional confidant, you are empowered to prevent it from happening again. You learn to recognize these dynamics in your own relationships, and most importantly, in your own parenting if you have children. By committing to honesty, empathy, and emotional safety, you can protect the next generation from inheriting these same wounds. You can model healthy conflict resolution and teach your children that it's okay to love both parents, that love isn't a limited resource you have to choose where to spend. This is perhaps the greatest gift you can give, to yourself and to your children. Freedom from parental alienation is not a single moment of arrival. It's a gradual, often messy, return to your authentic self. The moments of doubt, the feelings of discomfort, these are not signs of failure. They are signals of growth. They show that the old programming is losing its power. With patience, support, and a deep commitment to self-respect, it is absolutely possible to replace the inherited stories with your own personal truth. It's possible to build a fuller, healthier life, one that is truly and authentically your own. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content on healing and personal growth. Your journey matters.